Hey everybody, this is Cadroll Hunter, and today I've got two full rolls of silver, a roll of quarters, and a roll of dimes. All of this silver came from coin roll hunting. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James, and you're watching my channel, Cadroll Hunter. I've got two rolls of silver. I purchased these from a buddy of mine who is a prolific coin roll hunter. He's found all of these coins, coin roll hunting. These are all Canadian silver quarters and Canadian silver dimes. And I haven't looked in here. I don't know what it is, but I do see a George VI Ender. So that's always a good sign. But what I expect to find in here, because these are coin roll hunting finds, I think there's a good chance that a lot of these are going to be more recent Queen Elizabeth, some tiara portraits, maybe some laureate portraits. Obviously, there's some King George in here, but I don't expect a lot. And as for condition, that's a big question. I don't know. I found some really nice toned silver in my own coin roll hunts. I've found a few pretty slick pieces, but I think my junk silver purchases are often, especially the older stuff, pretty slick, and some of the 60s silver is in fairly nice condition. I kind of think that all of this is going to be middle of the road, but I'm interested to see what kind of a mix of dates we get. And I think what we'll do is we'll start with the quarters, because we've already taken a peek at King George VI here, and I will lay them out like I normally hunt rolls, and we'll kind of look through some of them to begin with. And if we find that we're not finding anything too interesting, I might just stack them up and see what years and such that we got. So here we go. Well, here's a first look at the edges, and that looks like silver to me. It looks like we've got some pretty toned ones here. There's one that's really, really bright, and a bunch in the middle, but that's a really great sight right there. I kind of wish that when I was doing coin roll hunting, this is what I saw every time I opened up a roll, but we know that's just not the case. But let's lay these down and see what we got. All right, well, first off, we got a pretty toned 1957. That's going to be a laureate portrait. And right behind that, we've got another George. There's a 1949, so that's a really good sign. Love to see some George VI in here. There is a 64. We'll often get these in junk silver in really great condition. This one's obviously quite circulated. That is a 1961. Another real dark toner here. That's a 1937. First year King George VI, and it's pretty toned, but it's actually in pretty good shape. Mostly the 30s that I get are in terrible shape. That's a surprising find right there. There's a 65. That's going to be the tiara portrait. A 63. That's not surprising. 64. Another George, another 49. Again, in pretty decent shape, better than my junk silver purchases, but lots of toning, of course. 61. A 66, another tiara portrait. This one I gotta focus on. Oh, a 63. 64. I expect a lot of 63s and 64s. There's a 53. We'll be able to check that to see if it's the shoulder fold or no shoulder fold. And just a quick look tells me that's a shoulder fold with that I that doesn't really have the serifs in DEI there. There's another 56, or a first 56, I should say. A 59. We're getting a really good range of dates. And here's a really nice one. 65, no surprise there. 66. Oh, another early King George. Look at that, 1940. Pretty slick. Got some scratches. 1950. So this is pretty awesome because I wasn't expecting this much King George. 63. 61. Oh, a 41. Again, in pretty decent shape for a coin this old. And if we can focus on that date, come on, you can do it. There we go, 64. 57. This has been pretty good so far, I gotta say. 59. There's an oddity. It's a 1930 something. That's a George with holes. It's got 3 holes in it. Very odd. Let's just put this under the scope and see if we can see what the date is. Well, I don't know if we're going to get a date off of this. You can see that the hole is right where the date would have been. This little line suggests that it could be a 37, but with all this damage, that could just be part of the damage. It's really hard to know. But again, it is a 30s King George VI, and at the very least, it just adds to our 80% silver stack. And just continuing on, we got another 63, another 1950, so another George. We got a 62, a 55, another George VI. This one is a 42, 61, nice looking 1960. That is actually a really nice looking 1943. Look at that. Lots of detail in the hair. That one is in great shape, but it's got a pretty big rim ding there. That's unfortunate. Otherwise, that would probably be an upgrader to whatever I have in my collection. There is a 65, getting down to the bottom here. A 62. That is a 60 something. We'll put it under the scope and see. Oh, it's a 64. I just couldn't see it with that discoloration. And our last couple here, we got another 53 and a 1950. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to stack them up and we'll just see what our years were. We got a pretty good assortment. This is pretty cool. All right, I got everything laid out here, and I have to say I was really pleasantly surprised by the condition of some of the coins compared to junk silver purchases that I normally make, and the fact that we got 11 King George VI of our 40 quarters. That was really, really cool. We got this 30s that we don't know for sure what that is. We're not going to be able to tell. We got that 37, which is incredible. We got a 1940, 41, 42, 43. We got a couple of 49s, and we got 3 1950s. 2 1953s, both of them were the shoulder fold variety. And then we got 55, 56, a couple of 57s, and a couple of 59s. And in the 60s, of course, no surprise, we got a more heavily weighted towards the 60s. That's what we'd expect. We got a 60, we got 4 61s, a couple of 62s, 4 63s, 5 1964s, no surprise they're really highly minted, 3 1965s, and a couple of 1966s. That was a great haul in a roll of silver that I just paid melt for. So even cheaper than if I was to go and buy junk silver from my local coin shop. So that's a great deal. My buddy is selling me his silver, and I'm selling him my US, which is a good trade. He goes down to the States regularly, so we got a good deal working out here. So let's get into these dimes and see what's in here if we get some good surprises as well. So there's a look at our silver edges in the dimes. And I had completely forgotten about this, but my friend had sent me a message to let me know when he found something that's right on the end here very recently. A dateless King George V, which is incredible, that he found coin roll hunting. I've never found a King George V silver dime in my coin roll hunts, but in any case, it's mine now. So that's really cool. But let's take a look and see what we got in the dimes. Okay, I got them all rolled out here. So what are we going to expect in the dimes? I'd be surprised if we did as well with the 1940s and 50s King George VI than the dimes. I think we're going to be more heavily weighted towards the 60s. But you never know. Let's see. We start out with the 1960. And these are going to be harder to focus. They're smaller, but there's 1960. There's a Tierra portrait, so we know that's... Oh, it's a 67. And we do have a King George V. Here we go. Pretty worn 1940. And right behind that, another shiny 1967. Some of these ones that are shinier, I think we can expect will be a 1967. So there's a 65, a 55, 65, 60, 63. So far, definitely more skewed towards the 60s. There's a 62. Part of the reason for that is because I think the dimes, just the portraits look a little bit more recognizable and can pass in change. King George V, I was surprised in quarters because people can spot the different portrait there. There's a 65, a 56, 64. So far, what I'll do is I think I'll just go through. I was going to say I'm going to go through these, and when I find a King George V or VI, I'll bring it back in. But there's one right there, and one right behind it. So there's another slick 40 and a 49. So I'll do that. If I find any King George VI, I'll bring you in for those. Well, I didn't have to go too far. Just one more coin in, and this one is a 1939. That's a 1939. Let's put that under the scope just to see that nice and clearly. Well, there you go. That's a no-doubter, a 1939. I honestly didn't expect to find anything quite this old in either of these rolls. That's a good surprise. A little further back, another George. And this one is a 52. That's a last year King George VI. Still going, there's a 1951. And here's another oldie, a 1949. And I think this is our third 1940, and this one is nicer than the other two for sure. And the rest are all in the 60s, except for this bad boy right here. Look at that, King George V. Flip them over, and we can see it's pretty worn. I think we could possibly get a date off this. Let's just put it under the scope. I'll take a closer look. It looks like it might be, unless my eyes are playing tricks on me, maybe a 1930. We'll take a peek. Okay, I've got it under the scope, and I think it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. What I was seeing were some of these markings down here, but they're too low for the date. The date would be sitting up here. So the last digit of the date would be above the leaf that's over here. So the date would be sitting here. It's clearly gone. So we've got a dateless King George V. You can't even make out where it would say 10 cents, but we can see the obverse well enough to be able to identify it. We're just not going to know what date this is. Doesn't matter. It's a King George V in our silver stack, and that's pretty cool. So I'm going to sort out this stack of silver dimes. I'm going to lay them out just as I did with the quarters, and we'll see kind of what date distributions we got. All right, here are the dimes, and we did get some surprises, of course, with that King George V. That was pretty awesome. But we did get 8 King George VI, which is pretty cool. Again, I didn't think I'd get as many in the dimes, but we got a 39. We got a few 1940s, pretty slick. This bottom one here is the nicest of them. We got a 49, actually two 49s way over here. A 51 and a 52. We got a few 1950s Queen Elizabeth II, and then we got some pretty significant stacks of 60s as we'd expect. So a big stack of 66s or 65s and a big stack of 67s. And these, of course, could be 80% or 50%. We just don't know easily. It's not easy to tell. But that is what we got for our 2 rolls of silver. That's really cool. So I wish my buddy great success in his coin roll hunts. I hope he finds lots of silver. I'd be happy to buy more off him at any day of the week for sure. I really hope you enjoyed this look at a couple rolls of silver. If you did, please give the video a like. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, please do that now. I'd really appreciate it. You can see when all of my new videos are coming out. And as you know, I have videos coming out all the time. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you again next time.